Yeah, you had mentioned that your father tried to turn you away from selling, right? He said like, I'd rather be like this than be like you doing this.
Yeah, he told me, he said, I'd rather be poor and broke, and you're ashamed that I'm poor and be on welfare than be like you in the street shining, but you're not my son. That's not who you are. You are fake. He told me you're an idol. You're not Antonio Fernandez. I see a fake man there. Because I know who I am, he told me, and I know who my father was, and I know who his father was in Puerto Rico. I'm sorry to tell you, but now I got to tell you, it isn't that. It isn't that dude in the corner I'm seeing, son. And he told me, what you gonna do? You can't bring that home to where I sit and I sleep because I've never done this shit. I'm not an American. I don't believe. I work for America, but I will not become it. And he told me, you're gonna choose my home values or you choose the street. And men, there's a time every lion got to talk to his cub and tell him, oh, you think you're a lion, right? And he did what every father knew at that time to do. He said, go, get out. You can't give the cancer to the rest of the girls. And he let me go figure it out. And I respect him for that. You know what I'm saying? His decision, but I never came back. You know what I'm saying?
And what were those years like for you when you had to kind of fend for yourself then?
You learn that you rush to trade your mother and father's values and screaming and understanding and love to protect. You miss it because you give it to, let's say, a gang leader or to a drug leader that's the alpha male of your crew. And you see his discipline, his love is so filled on pain and hate that you wonder why you rush so fast to get away from the love and the direction and the correction of your family, and you gave it to a street family that thinks the way they fix you is to put a bullet in your knee, beat your ass up, do all kind of painful things, right? The street love hurts. It shows you respect in a different way. Same word in the street, in the house, but you treat it in a different manner when you hand it out. So that's what it taught me. It started made me crave my values and the things I had at home. I missed them, but I didn't know how to get back to them. And through addiction and falling into Rockers Island and going into there, that's when I seen Latin Kings and other groups, Muslims and cultures, finding an identity within their own little groups. And it was so attracting. It was so full of the desire that I looked for men, because I had no brothers. And I was missing, I had a family, but men that fell and found love in each other to say, could our love change us so when we go home, we'll be better for the people we left behind for this shit. And that's the first time I seen a grown man named King Mafia in a setting where it was hopeless, it was scary, and we were all fighting and knifing each other. Pulled me over and he said, you're tough and you act all that, but you're scared and you really act like an animal. And we Puerto Ricans in this jail and in this unit, we don't act like that. So why don't you slow down and I'm gonna teach you? And that was the first time I heard a voice, not a pastor's voice, not a voice of a Latino man with this security and in a jail with this, I know who I am and I'm gonna help you find out who you are. And King Mafia was the first man who touched my heart, brain, and soul at the same time, just because I wanted a big brother. I was ready to be loved this time. Make sense? I wasn't ready with the school teacher, but I was ready with him. And he took the opportunity to relieve the oppression in that jail, in C95. And he gave me the space to learn for the first time how to write and read and spell my name and read a book about a Spanish people that were very, very political and strong. And he helped me become an educated man. And he helped me find out what was a Puerto Rican. And he helped me find out who I was. So I had the will to fight, to be more than a crackhead and a drug dealer. I wanted to be King Tone. And that's where it happened. That's where I made amends with God and self to start a road to an educated Puerto Rican man that was going to fight for freedom.
Do you think it was the conviction that came behind him that like he really felt it so strongly that convinced you that this is what it really is?
He approached me kind of like what I am now, if you hear me. He was that dude. He was a dope fiend. He got rehabilitated. He had a bad leg, but I seen nobody would mess him. He had an old man's respect. He was an older man. And when he came with me, I seen in his eyes this love that I'd never seen, like this compassion and this, like I could save you from becoming me because this is your first time here. And you're really acting crazy because you ain't got nobody to call, you ain't got nothing to do, and nobody's taking care of you. And I'm not here to abuse you. Look at the table, look at my family. If you want to come there, we'll help you not get yourself killed in this place. And it was the most, nobody helped me. No pastor asked me to come in from the street. Nobody ever invited me in to a home after I did what I did and became who I became. I was a fearful person and a bad person. And he in that place showed me love. So yeah, that compassion, that understanding that he seen besides me cutting and fighting for the phone and everything, he seen a lost soul that had nobody to call and nobody to talk to and nobody to love him. And he invested in me and he gave me my first opportunity to become, a man again with values when I sold it all to the devil for riches.
And you were able to relate to him as well because he was like you said, he was a dope fiend and you struggled with addiction as well, right?
He was a dope fiend, and then he was, but he dropped it and he became clean. And he told me how he battled it, knowing that I sold it and knowing that I was dealing with a crack addiction. And he looked at me and he said, and you could beat that shit right now. Right now, you could beat it. And I was like, this dude crazy? And he said, all that shit will fall apart right now if you just want to do one thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, if you want to love yourself, you could do it right now. He said, you don't got to wait for nobody. You don't got to call your wife. You don't got to call your mother. You don't got to call your friend. Right now, you could sit here and say, I want to love myself. And I was like, what the fuck is this dude on? He's not a Christian. He's a gang member. He's talking to me about love. And I was like, fuck, this shit is crazy. And then he gave me my knowledge, right? That's when he squeezed it in. Love is what we have. And he kicked me that literature. And he said, we have no room in our nation for stupid men. Woo! America love a stupid man. This man told me we do not accept ignorance. It's not an excuse. Woo! I said, fuck, I could fuck with homie right here. And he gave me the food that made me want to learn again and study and understand who I was, and that was over. It was over, son. I started reading Malcolm. You already know. I started reading Gandhi. I was different from the regular dudes because I looked beyond the 48 laws of power and all that shit. I was looking for Gandhi's movement. I was looking for the letters of Martin Luther King behind the scenes of the book of Malcolm X. I wanted to write what was the transforming. Then I looked up Mussolini. Then I looked up dudes that were evil. I studied Hitler and I studied great speakers. The worst and the evilest men were the most greatest speakers to win the people and the souls of the heart like a trump, to revert it into anger and fear and where they become a mad mob, right? So I wanted to learn how America controlled crowds and men learn to have their message touch the heart and minds of people to become a great leader in my nation called the Almighty Latin King and Queen Nation that I joined. Once I was inspired to be a Puerto Rican, once I was inspired to be a better human, I inspired to lead my nation from the day I joined it because it saved me. That day I said I want to love myself. And since that day, I never smoked crack or used a hard drug again in my life. You believe that? My mother cried tears of blood. She did everything. And in one word, a man made a choice that I dropped addiction. How about that?
Wow.